Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing good. I am so excited to share this video with you. I've got some beautiful blank acrylic shapes in the shape, of course, of an Easter egg. These were made for me by Moray over at Lothian Woodworks. Now, you guys all know I have an X tool. I've only recently brought it out of the garage. Now, here's the thing. I didn't have the acrylic I needed, didn't quite know where to find it. I was chatting to Moray. He was doing some work with acrylic. I said, please cut me some eggs. Cut me some eggs and I'll love you forever. And he posted them there and then and I got them next day. Now, I could not have done this quicker if I used my X tool, but I do plan on using my X tool again very, very soon. So thanks to Moray for sending these to me. I am going to be using the Let's Resin silicone rubber, the Let's Resin mold housing. But again, if you don't have the mold housing or if it's not in your budget, then you can of course use cookie cutters and packing tape. I've put the mold together. Now the mold just clips together with bulldog clips, and then you just need some double-sided tape to be able to stick it down to your surface. Again, if this is not in your budget, you can make silicone molds with cookie cutters or plastic food containers, anything really that works for you. I just have this in my stash. So usually you'd see me making a silicone mold using a kind of generic sticky back plastic or a generic non-branded transfer tape. Can I find it? No. Do you know where it is, guys? It is in my craft room, of course, but it is buried in the mess that is. So for today's video, I'm going to be using packing tape. It works absolutely perfectly. You do get some lumps and bumps in the surface, but it's all good. It does not take away from the finished silicone mold. Now, it is time to peel back the protective layers. The acrylic that Moray used for these eggs is beautiful blue color, and also this acrylic is 5mm deep. That is what I struggled to find and I needed it next day. You know when you get an idea in your head and you just have to do it right there and then, and you don't have the tools for it. I'm using gloves to prevent my fingerprints from transferring onto the acrylic. Now, if I were to peel these back using my bare hands, the oil, the natural oil from my skin would actually leave fingerprints on the acrylic, and believe it or not, the silicone would pick that up. It would be forever embedded in the silicone mold, and we do not want that. So again, just being very, very careful. I'm using my cricket weeding tool. Now it is sharp, so you do have to go easy here, making sure that you're only digging in to the plastic and not into the acrylic. We don't want to scratch the acrylic in any way. If you do scratch the acrylic, just put the bad side down onto the tape so that that's never going to affect any future plans with this. And again, I'm just pressing them down onto that packing tape, making sure that they are firmly adhered. Now, because this is such a thin mold, it's basically not a big chunky thing that I'm making a cast of. They are simple, small, thin eggs. It's going to be a thin mold. You really want your pieces to be further apart in the mold than these are. The walls between each egg are quite thin, so it's not ideal, but because again it's a thin mold, I'm not too worried about it. Like I said before, the silicone rubber I'm using is by Let's Resin. It is a mix ratio of 1:1 by weight. The word is missing off of this bottle, but it is by weight. And you just have to make sure that you measure and mix accurately, and I mix for a solid 5 minutes when I'm making silicone. I did buy some new weigh-in scales, guys. In all the years, this is my third set of weigh-in scales, because resin, epoxy resin, had gotten in to the on-off button on my last set, and I took all of your advice and I wrapped it in plastic, because so many of you told me, protect those scales, Claire, put a layer of sheet of plastic over, or wrap it in plastic, or do all of the things. Now, I don't know if it was because of that or whatever happened, but yeah, got me some dodgy scales. Again, this brand, I cannot fault them. I've never had an issue, but for whatever reason, I could not get this weigh-in scales to stay on 0. So I ended up going to like ounces. I ended up going through the ounces one. So I changed the mode to ounces and then it worked. Whereas the grams mode does not go down to 0. It sticks to 2. So yeah, I'm going to have to send those back and get another set. Oh well. Okay, now is the colorant. So this silicone rubber from Let's Resin can be colored using mica powder. And because it's an Easter theme, I decided to go for a gorgeous bright green. You don't want to put too much in, but honestly, I put a decent amount and I've never had an issue. It's always cured. I'm now just pouring that silicone in from quite high up so that all of those bubbles get knocked out when they kind of hit the surface. The Let's Resin silicone rubber is pretty bubble free, if I'm honest. And if you sit and stare at it, you can already see it self-releasing its bubbles. But if you pour silicone from quite high up, it does an amazing job at basically knocking itself out and any bubbles will just disappear. This part here is sped up for you guys because I did pour it quite slowly and you don't really want to sit through that in real time. So here we are. We are done. We are just filling this mould up. You don't want to put too much silicone in. It doesn't need to be a big, fat, chunky, juicy silicone mould. Just enough to cover the surface of the eggs and give you a bit of a base in there as well. This is 24 hours later and it is time to do my speckled eggs. I say my speckled eggs, they're not mine. I've seen this technique for years and years. People taking simple, basic, like polystyrene eggs from Michael's or Hobby Lobby or Hobby Craft and painting them in a beautiful pastel shade and then simply speckling them, like, yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? Flicking paint at them to give them a speckled egg effect. And we all know that has been around many years, but I want to try it with resin. And I'm using a basic crafting cheap acrylic paint to do this. I've mixed up some dark brown and some white just to give me this beautiful neutral brown. And I'm using a small brush to flick the paint on. Now, this bit here went in a long line. I don't want lines, I just want dots. So if you are flicking your paint onto your surface and you get long line splatters, that's not necessarily what you want for eggs. Anything else is fine, but not for eggs. You just want your little dots, your little specks, your gorgeous little splatter. And oh my gosh, I love this so much, guys. I love this so much. I then decided to use the darker brown on its own with no white added and a micro brush just to go in by hand and add some larger spots just by hand, one at a time. You know, really, it was time consuming, but totally worth it. Again, when you get speckled eggs like this, quite often the speckles are different shades and kind of different sizes as well. So as soon as I was happy, I put this to one side and I waited just about an hour and a half to 2 hours for all of those acrylic blobs to fully dry out. You want them fully dried before you pour epoxy resin on there so that you know that epoxy resin is going to pick up the paint. Now it is time for the epoxy resin. The resin I'm using in this video is the Apex from Just For You Online, and the details will be down in the description box. If you are new here, I have got a description box absolutely packed. Like, it's overly packed, guys. Let's be honest, it's too much. But I've been so lucky to get so many discount codes for so many products. So definitely check out my description box. This is where I want simple, beautiful, pale pastel colours for my eggs. Now, I don't have those colours. So this is where we are going to turn any colour that you have in your stash, any mica colour that you have in your stash, and you want pastel, and you don't want to go out and spend money on pastel opaque liquids, then this is what you do. You simply add a teeny tiny amount of white liquid pigment to your colours to not only bring them down to a pastel shade, but for mica, it will totally take away the mica. I don't want my eggs to have a beautiful, stunning mica-esque bloom effect. I want them to be matte block not matte, it's a shiny mould, but block opaque colours. I don't want to see mica. And again, I didn't have any pastel pastes. So this is an absolutely perfect method. Take any mica powder that you have in your stash, add a small amount of white opaque pigment, and you've got yourself a pastel pigment. It works with absolutely every mica powder. George is now asking me to throw his pig. Guys, I've just taken him out on a walk so that he would rest while I could do my voiceover. Right, ready, George? Go. There he goes. Okay. Back to the video. Sorry, guys. So yes, as you can see on screen, all of these stunning, brightly coloured mica powders are being taken down a notch or two. They are going from bright, bright shades to the most beautiful, summery, Eastery, opaque, completely opaque, pastel colours. Why is the word pastel so hard for my brain to retrieve? That word is getting buried as the video goes on. Anyway, here we are. This is what we're looking like. I mean, the mint mica powder was already pastel. There's no denying it. It was already a pastel shade, but I wanted it opaque, and that is why I added the white in there. And here we are. So the oh my gosh, guys, see what's happening? George, look what's happening. You're distracting. The acrylic paint is fully dry at this point, and it's okay now. It's fully okay to pour the epoxy resin in, down, and on top. And I know that epoxy resin is going to pick up every last speck of acrylic paint. And how beautiful are these colours? Let me know what you would use this technique for, because I'm already thinking like a larger tray, and then maybe make some of these eggs and put it in the tray as inlays. So use these eggs as inlays. I've also made some Easter egg silicone inlays using Easter egg cookie cutters. Oh, that video is going to be coming soon. Haven't filmed it yet, but I've made the inlays. So they are going to be laid in a mould, and we're going to be doing something around them. But these eggs here could honestly, yeah, they could go into another mould and as inlays, right? Into coasters. So maybe you put your eggs in and then you have a completely different background colour. This is what they're looking like, guys. We're going to get you some close-ups in a second, but I am absolutely obsessed with these. Really and truly in love with them. Now, some of these colours, like the blue left, bottom left, that blue egg, like you get real eggs that colour. You get real eggs in that colour. Listen, I'm not a chicken farmer. I don't know what colour eggs you get. In the UK, we mostly get brown. Although, can someone explain why suddenly Tesco eggs are white? I've never in my life seen a white egg. But here we are. We are in our white egg era from Tesco's. So yeah, what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to make them into fridge magnets. It just made complete sense. And I've recently bought these self-adhesive magnets. I'm not gonna lie, I thought they would be stronger than they are. I ended up putting one magnet at the top of each egg, and then because I just didn't feel like they were strong enough, I put 2 magnets per egg. These are plenty strong enough. Like, they're not even overly strong, you know? Sometimes you can get such a strong magnet that you need both hands to get it off the fridge. So these do still come away really, really easily from the fridge. They're just not as strong as I want them to be. But this is what they are looking like. I love these so, so much. I'm imagining coasters. I'm imagining earrings, not obviously not this size earrings, but smaller versions of. Now, of course, if you don't want to make a silicone mold, you can get hold of an egg silicone mold. But if you want magnets and things like this, just make sure you're getting a blank mold, so there's no loophole for you to put it as a keyring. Equally, if you've got a keyring egg silicone mold, easily make nice, gorgeous Easter key rings out of those. I'm so sorry, guys. George is so distracting today. Ready? Go. But yeah, I hope you feel super inspired by this. Let me know how you would use this technique, on what mold you would use it. Even if you had a 3D huge egg mold, you could splash the inside and then pour your eco pouring medium or your epoxy resin down in. Yeah, so many possibilities. I appreciate you all so much for being here, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.